everybody. Me, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, one God. Today, I'd like to take a little time to talk about something that maybe we don't think about enough. And maybe today the lesson and what your takeaways are something that encourages you all to think a little bit more about what heaven is going to be like. If I can get just kind of a raise of hands, who spends a lot of time thinking about what am I going to do in heaven? What's going to happen in heaven? We don't think about it much, do we? We'll probably give some thought to, what's it going to take to get me and my spirit to heaven, right? But we don't probably spend a lot of time actually contemplating and thinking about why do I want to go to heaven? What's there? What am I going to do? What happens? And so I want to just kind of give you a little bit of something to think about when it comes to what heaven will be like for the believer, and something to think about each and every day, because I think that this can really help guide your life. Is heaven a state of mind, or is it an actual place? Anybody? Both. Both? You think it's both?
I was gonna say place.
Okay. So I'll try to answer this a little bit here, but heaven is a real geographic place. It's a real destination. It's a real place where you're going to go. Yeah, I mean, your spirit's going to be there. It's going to be very spiritual, and you're going to think a lot about glorifying God and worshiping God. But in John 14, you all know this verse, right? Where Jesus said, I will go and prepare a place for you. He wasn't saying, I'm going to go prepare a place for us to be there in a state of mind, floating around in space. It's a real place. It's a real geographic place where you're going to go. The word Thomas is used a lot, and it actually refers to, and it's referred to in John 14 like 2 or 3 times, an actual geographic place, not a state of mind. And in Acts 1, this is maybe a really good example of it, where you see that, where Jesus is on the Mount Olives, which is a real geographic place. And then he ascends into heaven. You don't go from a real geographic place to a state of mind. You go from a geographic place to another place. So Jesus went from one place to another. So this is a real destination for us. It's a real place. And I think that when we think about it that way, maybe we'll spend a little more time thinking about what heaven will be like, what will happen there. I mean, when you think about going somewhere to another country or something like that, you think about, what am I going to do when I get there? Think a little bit more about this as the ultimate destination. And it requires us to spend a little time contemplating what it would be like when we go there. So that's kind of a little, beginning of our lesson to get us kind of juices flowing, thinking a little bit more about it. When we die, do we go there immediately? Well, yes and no. But for the most part, you're going to go. You're not going to just float around again waiting for the day that we all go to heaven for eternal life. You will go. And where you'll go in 2 Corinthians 5:8, you're going to go somewhere, because it says in the Bible there that when you're absent from the body, you're going to be with the Lord. And again, I'm referring to all believers here. Lazarus, when he died, he went into the bosom of Abraham. Right? We go into the presence of God wherever that is. Heaven, paradise, but you're gonna go be with God if you're a believer. Okay? You're not just gonna be sitting there in a place of state of mind or wherever, floating around in the clouds, waiting for, the apocalypse. But this is not our eternal home. Okay? Where you go is not going to be our eternal home. In Revelations 21, John saw the New Jerusalem descend from the heaven onto the earth. Heaven is going to be one day when it's all said and done here on earth. Right? This is what God wants. For us to all unite as believers in the heaven. And it'll be our eternal place. And it'll happen. A few other things have to happen first, but yes, it'll happen. So you do go somewhere immediately, but our eternal destination is when heaven is here on earth. Is heaven anything like what has been described in near-death experiences? Anybody watch any movies about near-death experiences?
There was a boy that went to
The book?
There was a boy that went to heaven and came back, and he saw even a baby that before it was born, that was his little sister because she got aborted or whatever.
Yeah, there's a lot of stories. I mean, there's a lot of books and stories, and you see things on, when they do 60 Minutes and whatnot. You are or you're not dead. You are or you're not. It's like, when a woman is pregnant, she either is pregnant or she's not. Right? One or the other. So let's look in the Bible for an answer to this. And when you look in the Bible, there are no references to near-death experiences that actually do anything to describe what heaven is like. Lazarus was raised from the dead. When he came back, nothing in there about what he saw. Didn't report a thing. Just knew that he was raised from the dead. Right? So he died and came back. Okay? Paul was taken to the third heaven. But God told him, do not say anything about the experience and what you saw. So, God is keeping this experience very special and very sacred. So these near-death experiences that you hear about, the Bible really doesn't support what happens and when you're in heaven through those near-death experiences and what is reported in books and movies and things like that. Lean on the Bible for what God is saying about heaven and what it's going to be like. Okay? He gives you everything you need to know in the Bible about heaven.
So are you, just out of curiosity,
Yeah.
so the accounts of certain people that talk about having, for lack of a better term, raptured, what do you know what?
Yeah,
Side topic,
yeah.
I'm sorry. No, you just go on.
The rapture, from the
No,
rapture.
don't worry about it.
Well, let me tell you a little something about, what is in the Bible about people who are in heaven and what we know about them. And this is this next slide, what does the Mount of Transfiguration tell us about what happens in heaven? Moses and Elijah come back and stand at the door with the Lord. In that episode, in that experience, in that biblical assessment of what really took place and what's reported, you find out that they kept the same name. Okay? So when we go to heaven, we'll probably keep our same name. Your identity is not going to change. Now, God may give you another name. Just like, when you become a deacon or, a priest, you get another name, maybe bestowed upon you, but you will keep your same name. You'll have your same interests, your same gifts. There's something about your spiritual being now that will be there with you. So you're not going to be somebody totally different. You're going to be who you are. God created everybody so unique here that you take those with you into the everlasting life, which is pretty cool. Who you are, you're not going to just die and be something else. It's a continuum. Your spirit never dies. That's really a neat thing to know that who I am today, I'll be forever. No matter where you go. I'll talk a little bit about the other place, but no matter where you go, you take it with you.
So it's interesting you use the word interest. So I left the golf. I'm a spirit. I don't think as a spirit I can golf.
No, probably you're not going to be. You love sports and all this stuff, but that whatever about golf, maybe whatever's in your spirit about golf that you like, whether it is the nature and being outside. A lot of that stuff, you're going to take something with you. But I think what we're really saying here is you've got a set of gifts, you've got a set of interests, things that are really, because you're going to not just go to heaven and, again, just sit around and do nothing. These things are going to come into play. What you're going to do for eternity. Okay? Life is a continuum. We don't become something else. And we don't become just nothing, a spirit floating around. Who you are today, it's a continuum of life. So it's important for you to really contemplate who you are today and what you're going to take into that you might look like. So not just who you are, but when Jesus came back from the dead, he was recognizable. So guess what? You're going to be recognizable in the heaven. So what you look like, others will know who you are. You're not going to look like somebody totally different. Okay? So the Bible gives us a lot of clues about what life is going to be like in heaven. You are going to basically have all those things. That's why we say you're going to go into everlasting life with the Lord. It's forever that you're going to take your name, your interests and gifts and beliefs, the way you look. Now you're not going to be in the same body, but your appearance is going to be very recognizable to everyone you've known. It's kind of cool to think about it that way. That this is not something that, again, we don't spend a lot of time thinking about this, do we? Right? So, let's do something, just give you a little bit of what do you do and what do they know about us? Do people in heaven know what's happening here?
Sure.
Yes.
No. Absolutely. And we have proof of that in the Bible. In Revelations, the saints are looking down and they see what's happening, during the 7-year tribulation. Right? All the believers have gone to be with God, lifted up to the sky, and then what's left on earth? All the non-believers. And it's 7 years of just everything bad. You see things today that you think are bad, but boy, when you have a earth full of non-believers, all the wickedness that is left here, you hear things on TV and you go, wow, that's wicked. college student the other day that was killed, you know, away from, you know, just a few blocks away from her campus, stabbed by 3 teenagers. That's wicked. For no reason. Now think of that across the entire earth. Just wickedness everywhere. And so the saints are seeing this, and you know, they're saying, you know, Lord, how long are you going to restrain yourself from judging what we're seeing? So they can totally see. You know, Luke 16, the rich man in Hades looking into the heaven and sees Lazarus. You all know this story, right? In Luke 16, where the parable says that you know, Lazarus is outside his gates, and you know, he gets no attention, he gets no love from the rich man, and when they die, the rich man goes to Hades, Lazarus is in the heavens, and the people in Hades can actually also see what's happening in heaven. Okay? So when you're in heaven, you'll be able to see everything that's happening on earth and vice versa. If you're in that other place, you will see everything as well. Revelation 19, the saints in heaven see what happens to Babylon. Right? Babylon is the ultimate, you know, wicked city, and it will be destroyed by God for its wickedness. So yeah, again, they see that as well. Probably the thing that we know is in Luke 15 and 17 for sure, that it refers to when someone is saved here on earth, they are rejoicing, and there's joy in the heavens. So they know, and they can see, and they know when, you know, when they see people on earth today that are sinners and find the Lord, there's great rejoicing. So they know what's happening today on earth. Okay? You know, people want to go places here with this. You know, are they walking amongst us and all this? That, you know, that's a whole nother topic. But I think that the most important thing is they know it's not like they're, you know, grandma's watching everything you do each and every day. Because their most important thing today is to see that people are spiritually being saved. And that's what their part of their current worship is for this saved, you know, that all sinners are saved. And they're praying for that. Okay? So what will we do in heaven? For the most part, worship God on a whole nother level. Today, you know, when we worship God, you know, we have so much going on, and we don't have the pure, clean, you know, just straight line sight of God, because we have all this junk in our minds, right? Sin keeps it actually from you completely feeling the power and glory and just the amazing joy of praising God. When we're on that next level, that will be completely removed. And it will just be pure joy, nothing else, no filter of all this stuff that we have to deal with here on earth today. So it will be on a whole nother level. We will work. Think your work is done? No. We will work. We will have a purpose. Adam and Eve, when they were placed in the Garden of Eden, they were to work. They had roles and things that they were doing, cultivating the Garden of Eden. We will have jobs. We will oversee things. We will have purpose. and it will all glorify God. At the end of the day, it'll all be to worship and glorify God, but you will have a role. So the cool thing is that, you know, you won't be in this body, you'll never tire, you'll be doing just endlessly with great joy. Yeah.
I'm a little confused. And
Mhm.
of course, it's an abstract since none of us know, but when you say cultivate the heaven, what is there to cultivate? I mean, what are we working? Are we
Yeah.
working the land or?
Yeah, no, cultivating, for example, I think the reference in the Bible is really Adam and Eve. Adam was in the Garden of Eden. Everything was done. The fruit was there, the food was there. It wasn't to cultivate. It's not like,
Right, because
you know, it's
that
not
was
like
his
that.
punishment, is that you will tire and you
Yep.
will sweat, and so when you say, yeah, we will work and
Yep.
we will cultivate heaven,
Yeah.
I'm kind of
So no, that's
confused
okay. I
on
mean,
that part.
it's a good question. It is not, it's not a physical kind of cultivation, but it's a spiritual kind of cultivation, where you will have a purpose for, and you will have an assigned purpose. You might oversee, a city. You might oversee something, and you will have a purpose for the spiritual cultivation of it. You will not be sitting around, just like study, Bible study and boredom. It will be, like I said, we don't have the mentality to understand it right now.
I understand.
You're gonna have this clear, unfiltered purpose.
Like I know, for me at least, it seems like we're more vague about what heaven is going to be like than Muslims, because if you say Muslims say it's whatever you want it's going to be. If you want an apple, you think it'll be in your hand, But we are way more vague than them about what
Mhm.
heaven is like.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, because we are actually, I think that everything that God wants you to know about heaven, He has told you about it in the Bible. Always go back to the Bible whenever you ask the question. What does He want us to know about it? And it's not so vague as it is saying, you know what? We cannot actually visualize, we cannot actually even comprehend the purity and the amount of joy and just the spirituality that's gonna be there. Because we are, we're made of sin. We are born into sin. There's no way to visualize it. And for them to say, this is what it's gonna be, this is what it's gonna be, is to say that it's really not that special of a place. We know what's there. In this body, full of sin and corruption, I can tell you what's in heaven. That's the thing, I think the thing that God wants it to be something that nobody knows. He kept it that way for a reason. I mean, people died, saw things, never communicated back to you. You have to think about it, that it is a real, something beyond our comprehension and belief.
understand.
That you want it so much. Okay? It's funny because, and that's a great lead-in. Well,
Wait.
will we be married in heaven? And the answer is no. There's no need. Heaven, marriage was made for procreation in this lifetime, and there's no need to do that. So yeah, I mean, you might be married here and you will recognize your spouse there, but you know what? Spouse here on earth is more than just, you recognize that person. It's a friendship, it's a companionship, it's a spiritual relationship, it's everything else, and that would be, but it's not about marriage there. There's no purpose for it. But back to your point,
There's a
I think
question.
this was the transition. Yeah, what's the question?
Alright, so where is the motivation before my needs are met? Why would I have to work anyway?
Why? Because you'll want to.
because I want to.
When you're in heaven, what motivates you to want to go to heaven to want to work? I'm not understanding.
No, like let's hypothetically say that yes, we made it to heaven. If all my needs are met, what forces me to work?
Like I said, it's
I don't
not
think it's a
forcing you to
force.
work.
I think
No,
I think there's a misunderstanding that the word work can mean that you're required. It's out of the
Yeah.
sense that you're in a paradise of joy,
Yeah.
and you're working because of the joy that it brings you. You love what you're doing. It brings you joy. It's a sense of inspiration,
Yeah.
not a sense of requirement, a duty, and I have to do it because I have to survive.
Yeah, it's not like hey,
It's-
I
it's
made
the
it. Now
opposite.
I'm gonna kick up my legs and I'm
It's,
gonna have
it's,
beers.
it's
It's
for
not-
me. For me, it's like you work
Yeah.
because you're required
you
to,
want-
right?
yeah.
How are you going to live if you don't work,
Yeah.
right? You won't eat, you won't whatever. That's requirement. Versus a joyful, you're putting in something, but it's out of my inspiration, out of love, out of my love for God, out of my. You're doing things with a purpose that brings more love. The love of God stronger in your life, right?
Yeah.
So in the sense, you're in paradise of joy. So I mean, take joy and multiply it 10 over again.
So in other words, it's not work, it's just something
It's,
to
it's,
do. You have
it's,
something
you're
to do.
doing
It's not
a
like-
work, you're
doing
doing a
something
work,
like-
but you're defining work as like, it's a job. It's not a job. It's
It's
out
not-
of, I'm working because out of my love.
It's not. It's not any different than
Don't make
actually
it work.
serving.
You're in the bosom of joy. I mean, you're happy. You're doing
Yeah.
because you want to be happy.
But it's the same thing as, what we do here. It's
Not
serving.
happy.
Right.
I mean,
And
serving.
that's why
You're serving the
That's
Lord.
why he says when you give with a cheerful heart. Don't
Yeah.
give out of, it's not because you're forced or
Exactly.
you do out of your love, out of your joy of your love for God.
But we
So-
said before, we also said before that we think that it's punishment, that Adam had to work as a punishment.
Right,
But he was working before he sinned.
right.
So why was he working? Because he's created in the image of God and God works.
God works.
So we will continue to be in the
Yes.
image of God and do
We're his
God's
handiwork,
work
yeah.
when we're in heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not in order to eat and not out of, with
It's-
a burdensome flesh, but out of being
Part of
Christ-like,
his-
because we are in the image of God and we are doing his work and fulfilling his kingdom.
Yep. Don't use work as a dirty
And-
word. It
no,
is a
and-
word
and
that
here's the thing.
basically says that there's going to be an amazing purpose for you being there. It's not to just sit around or pray all day or chant all day. It's not going to be boring. It's not going to be all day, praising God and song. There's going to be a purpose that, again, it's a spiritual purpose, and you're going to want to do all these things out of the love that you're going to have for God. But you had another point.
Yes. And okay, so there is this word cultivate.
Mm-hmm.
Now, cultivate the paradise. Cultivate the paradise.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know the word cult is derived from cultivate?
Do you?
No, like why does he use the word cultivate in paradise and work?
I don't think this is.
No,
I don't believe that's correct.
No?
No.
Alright.
No.
The word
I don't think.
is just a group of people who prescribe to something that's not true. The word cultivate is to harvest. So
Yeah.
We're
I don't think that's.
in opposite directions
I
here.
don't think that's
Yeah,
correct.
that's
But
totally
I
different.
mean, if you want to look into that, and let's not kind of get in the weeds of it. I think that basically what we're trying to say is that when you think about what am I going to do in heaven, there is lots and ample examples in the Bible that tell you you're not going to be just sitting around. It's not going to be boring. It's not going to be just forever. You're you're just kind of leaning on a tree. There's going to be so much happening, and it will be amazingly joyous, whatever it is going on at all times, forever and ever and ever. And that is the thing that you need to think about when it comes to your life here on earth today. Because what we're seeing in our society, in our few years that we've been here, but over the years of the existence of mankind, man spends his time trying to make earth their heaven. You want to have it, you know? And you have this whole earthly, heaven in your mind, and this is what you want to achieve. And you spend your time chasing that. Your personal satisfaction. Okay? And heaven is not about your personal satisfaction. It's going to be about God. Always God. You'll never even think personal. You'll never even think, I need to be motivated. Or I want an apple. Or I want anything other than to show my love for God, always. And that's everything that's going to happen there is going to be that. And that will bring you amazing joy. Period. And it just goes on like that. And it's something that you can't even fathom. But it's been said, aim for the eternal heaven, and you get both heaven now on earth and your eternal heaven. Aim for your earthly heaven today, and you'll get neither. So my encouragement today is for you to think about that eternal heaven as much as you can. Because the more you think about that and what that will be like and how important it is for me to live my life today so that I can achieve that, the more you will live a heaven on earth in your current life. Think about heaven more and you'll realize those things. You'll also realize the brevity, the shortness of our life here on earth.
Mm-hmm.
It's but a speck. When you think about eternity forever and ever, when you think about the years that we spend here. And when you do that, Moses said, teach us to number our days so that we might have the wisdom. We realize how important and short our life is today in the grand scheme of things, in the eternal scheme of things. It is but a speck. And so keep your eye on the prize. A creation that is made with sin, as we all are, spends, we default to that. In 2 Peter, it says, it also would help us prepare for our judgment and motivates us to live a pure life, a godly life today. If we think about heaven more and more, our eternal place more and more, you will automatically start to see that you are going to be living a more pure and godly life today. Because that will become the most important thing. You won't fear death as much as we do. Because we all do. We all fear death. Let's not kid ourselves. But you won't fear it the way that a lot of people fear it, because they don't know and they haven't taken the time to think about what is heaven going to be like. The more you think about it, the less you're going to have fear of death. Okay? And it also makes us realize that whatever we're suffering today, puts it in real perspective. It's going to be short-lived. Again, when you think about eternity, and I'm going through a really difficult season or period or illness, time, just it puts it in perspective. It's a really short-lived thing. And I will get through this. Okay? And of course we know not all roads lead to heaven. Only that you have repented, been forgiven through the glory and grace of God, and have that firm belief in Jesus Christ. Kind of like a passport. If you want to go to a country, you're not going to get in that country without that passport, right? And to attain that passport, you have had to go through a very prescribed set of instructions on what you need to do to get it, to attain it. If you filled out that application wrong for a passport, guess what? You don't get it. You gotta do something else. You have got to get that passport. And the Bible prescribes it clearly on what you need to do to have your passport. It's simple as that. And for people to have all kinds of ideas about how to get into heaven, if it's not that prescribed way of getting that passport, you're not gonna get it. Narrow is the gate. And that, I'm pretty sure, isn't something that we argue about much. Will heaven be the same for everyone? No. Yes, we will all be there worshiping. We will all have the same purpose, but we will all have different roles and different things to do. But this piece of it is really kind of cool because it gets you to think about rewards in heaven. What rewards? Aren't we all in heaven? Aren't we all? Yes, we will all be in heaven. All believers will go to heaven. But there will be rewards for those who have not only believed, gotten the passport, gotten into heaven. The good deeds that you do on earth today will be rewarded in heaven. And so this encourages you to not only, I believe in Jesus, I will ask forgiveness, I will repent of my sins, but I will do good works while I'm here. Because that helps you keep your eye on the prize. It helps you think about heaven each and every day while you're here. If you can, do something about it. Do good works. Be rewarded in heaven.
So I had a similar conversation about this a while back. Can't remember who exactly it was, but what you're saying is that everybody's not at equal footing in heaven. And I think it was a priest that shared this with me one time, that he was actually, and I don't know where he's ascertaining this from, but different levels. Based on your works here on earth, that in heaven, that you're, that, yeah, everybody's in heaven, but there's different levels.
Different ranks.
Different ranks.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I actually heard
Different
one
responsibility.
similarly, a priest, I think he was a monk or something, visiting, and he was explaining that, and he was actually saying, so how could, if we're all in heaven, and heaven is full of joy, but you feel you have, or you wish you would have strived more, or someone is having more than you, wouldn't you all still have a sense of sorrow or some regret? So how would it be completely heaven? So he was saying, if I took a teacup and a bucket and a tub, and I filled them all to the brim with water, who doesn't feel full? They all feel full. But in actuality, one is a cup and one is a bucket. So it's like that. You feel completely full, but there's size differences, and there's some, they're all equally as full, but there's larger. So you don't feel empty, you know, being smaller, but
One more full than the other.
right.
Do you see the different
No,
ranks?
it's not about more full than the other, it's more volume.
No.
Right, fine,
Paul,
yeah.
I mean, I think Paul addressed this, I don't remember where, but he addresses this when he talks about the full measure idea in the Bible, and
Christ, you know,
the
one time
more,
paraphrase.
to whom he has, to whom has much more will be given, to whom does not have any, that which he has will be taken up. That, this idea that we are given talents based on how, on our struggle to have our relationship with God. So, and that translates into where we are, our station in heaven. But I don't think there's like Suzette was just saying, that everybody is full, that we all receive a full measure of Christ. That is the promise, that we all receive the mindset. So again, Paul talks about the mindset of Christ, which is what you were talking about earlier, that we have, what our thought is not about our personal enjoyment or our personal needs and desires, it's what our desire based on the mindset of Christ. So we are basically in communion with God, and we have the mindset of Christ, that we have the full measure of Christ. So these things are I think that's kind of,
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. And I think that this is that's a great analogy, because there won't be any ego or any, I mean, that just won't be there. You will feel full and you will feel, you know, the joy at the same level. But these rewards will be bestowed upon people who do good works. And like you said, they may have a bigger bucket. They may have a different responsibility in heaven. It will be a responsibility, but it might be a different responsibility. So I think that this is in the Bible really to encourage us to not only, you know, to encourage us to think about every day and think about the works that we do each and every day. So believe, repent, seek forgiveness, get your passport, do good works, serve, find ways to use the gift that you've been given, because they will be rewarded one day. Okay? So something to think about. I think that it's really there for us to keep heaven top of mind each and every day in our lives. Alright? And to close, yeah, hell is also a real geographic place. If this doesn't, like, pardon the pun, light the fire. But there are three things for sure about heaven. It is a place of eternal physical torment, and the Bible reflects that, and it says that it's day and night, forever and ever. It's got indescribable loneliness and darkness. All you will be is in self-torture, and all you'll hear is the torture of others. Forever. And there, it's a place of no return. The chasm between heaven and earth is so great. There is no way, once you're in heaven, once you're in hell, for you to make it to heaven. It is too late. Okay? So, this is also something that you should realize and keep in mind each and every day. You know, this is also a real place. Okay, that's top of the hour.
So, I
Hopefully
started this question earlier,
Yeah.
I sort of gave up on it because it's not really our topic, but, so there's a lot of rich tradition, especially in the early church, where there are, and going back to Paul, who talked about frequently having visions of paradise, right? And he didn't describe it in detail, obviously, but he described, you know, the things that he went through and the feelings he had. We have many saints and priests in our tradition that talk about God would come visit them, the angels would visit them, and he would go up and visit them. And I remember one story about one particular monk who couldn't read, he was illiterate, and so, you know, one day Moses would come and read him Leviticus, and another day Paul would come and read him Corinthians, that kind of idea. And then one day David came and sang a song, one of the Psalms, and off he went. And so, without getting into too deep of a new topic, like, we have ideas about what heaven's like. I mean, I don't think it's so like, I understand what you're saying, like, you're more or less saying, you know, no eye has seen and no ear has heard the things that God has prepared for those who love him. Absolutely, no denying that. But I mean, you still have a lot of clues about what
we have he's given us all these
right,
things.
but external to the Bible.
Outside of the Bible,
Right.
sure. I mean, you know, but totally parallel to the Bible, those things have been described in the Bible, right?
Right.
I mean, in different stories and different circumstances. So,
But they're described in such detail.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of detail out there. Like, if you go just by the Bible, we know very little of anything, right? Just descriptions of what Paul says. Now we see dimly, but then we will see clearly. Those kinds of ideas.
Yes.
But there is a lot of literature out there within our traditions that does describe.
Yeah. No, I mean, absolutely. We know that the interventions of the saints, just think back, the angels that King, you know, Book of Marriage. I mean, all those are similar, you know, examples. But when it, you know, within our own church and traditions, yeah,
Okay,
they're,
I just wanted to bring
Not
that up,
saying
just
that
because if
it's
somebody
not.
happens to read some of that, I don't want them to get the,
Yeah.
okay.
yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, what we're saying is definitely that the Bible gives you all these examples, even if you don't, you know, go and read our own literature within our church of examples of the saints'
I think
works.
kind of like what you were saying, Pete, it's like we can grasp from that because they knew Moses and they knew Elijah, that we will be recognizable, that we will have this, like, there's things that based on this, we can infer that. But a lot of it is beyond what we can comprehend. I mean, when he says my father's house, there's many mansions, like, there's so many different ways to interpret that.
Yeah,
But like,
right.
how do we, like, what does that look like? What is it, is it a physical location? Are we all in the same location but experiencing different things? Like, there's just so, like, we won't know because it's beyond our understanding. And one of the things that I heard most recently that I really like, Father Anthony was saying, I don't have to know everything to believe something.
Right.
So I don't have to know everything about heaven to know certain nuggets of gold about heaven.
Mhm.
And most of all, the fact that heaven starts here.
Yeah.
And I think the reason that heaven, we might think it's boring, or we might think, because I think heaven is one really long, you know, liturgy or sermon or something like that, and it's like, oh my gosh, how are we gonna do that for eternity? But if you are actually in your spiritual life here, experience the presence of God when you're praying, then, and that peace and that strength and that comfort, then you look forward to spending the rest. When you know Him here, you look forward to spending the rest of your life with Him there.
Right.
But that's, life started here. But for those who are looking at heaven as a place of physical
Yeah.
comfort and all those things, and I wanna get there because I don't wanna go to hell, then you really have no relationship with God, and you're actually missing out here first before there. So,
Just to add, you bring up a really good point. It's like faith. Well, do I need to see Christ to believe? Do I know and understand just through my works and having that personal relationship that my faith deepens? So if I believe that, I should also believe that there is a heaven. What circumstances, experiences, what people do, actions, their interests, what you do up there is secondary. All you know is if you already have that personal relationship while you're here on earth, and you migrate to heaven, and then you have that further deepening experience, it can only be better, or even more, like you
Yeah.
said, more joyous. So doesn't matter what that you said, you know, the geographical entity of heaven, that doesn't matter where you are or what's up there. It's that relationship, the continued relationship and the deeper relationship that you'll always have.
Yeah, it's a continuum.
Yeah,
It's a
the continuum, yeah.
It's a continuum. So, give it time in your prayers, give it time in your,
Like that other people are there and they're enjoying, but they can't be part of it.
yeah,
They can.
oh yeah, yeah. That, you know, that parable about the rich man seeing Lazarus in heaven. And he said, and he, you know, screamed out, you know, just, you know,
Yes.
dip your toe and cool off this torture I'm in. So he sees Lazarus and Abraham in the heavens, and he begs for a little reprieve from his torture.
But it's not vice versa.
No, it's vice versa. And we see them there, and it's a you know, I didn't want to get down the rabbit hole with it, but definitely, you know, the question is, you know, do people in heaven feel terrible for the people in hell because somebody there may be their loved one, you know, that didn't get into heaven?
Mm.
How is that? How can we feel that way about somebody that, you know, when we go into heaven, do we get brainwashed about that? And it actually is a whole nother kind of lesson on, what is thought about that. But absolutely not. When we go to heaven and we see those in hell, we will completely understand why they are in hell, and you won't have that feeling. You'll understand how they just did not believe in God and pushed God away in a way that you won't feel that guilt.
Mhm.
Yeah, that guilt won't be there.
Will not be there in heaven. So like, for
Yeah.
example, things like hunger and thirst and
Yeah.
desire, and even, what Suzette was talking about with, people have the idea of heaven's gonna be a 24-hour day liturgy, right? But we can't have that, we have that concept of, we need stimulus to keep engaged, right? Whereas in heaven, and of course, I mean, it's just based on,
Yeah.
just, so that kind of
The
God
physicality of everything,
yeah,
and we have to
exactly.
have
So
around
God
us
says,
iPhones,
yeah.
we won't have a
says-
signal.
God said, so in Isaiah it says, behold, I make you a new creation,
Yeah.
right? So will we have some similarities to who we are? Yes, but that human nature, that sinful, broken nature will not be there.
Any other questions?
I think
Alright, well, thanks for having me.
I was just gonna
Thanks,
make
Pete, that was good.
I was just gonna say that we need to keep focus on that. As much as we've been given, we're gonna be asked just as much. So, I mean, we need to, I know we feel motivated now that we are focused on heaven, but look at the time, look at the resources that we have available to us.